Welcome to the Sam and Joe VA Show, where we teach women just like you how to start and scale a thriving virtual assistant business.
We're your hosts, Sam and Joe, and get ready to have the control, flexibility, and freedom you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to episode 185. Are all your eggs in one basket?
Now, we don't want to freak anyone out, not too much anyway. We don't want you to panic about what we're going to talk about today. But we can't expect all of our clients to stick around forever, even if things are going really, really well right here, right now. Which is why when we talk about eggs in one basket, we're meaning clients. Putting everything into just one or two clients is a risky, risky business.
It sure is, because if one of those clients leave, and let's say that you have one of them that is over 50% of your revenue, they leave, and that is a really big hole in your financials, and you will take a really big hit in what you are earning.
Yeah, and this can happen any type of year. We'd like to say that you're going to get a lot of notice if this is to happen, but we actually know a virtual assistant personally who this happened to right before Christmas. Like the worst time for this to happen in terms of revenue, right before Christmas, losing 80% of your revenue in one hit. Ouch.
Oof. And you might think, oh, but I do a really great job for my client or a few clients. They're not going to leave. But actually, clients have all sorts of reasons for needing to leave. And often they are not because they are unhappy with the work that you are doing.
Yeah.
There are loads of other reasons.
It's more likely to be something that's happening at their end. They're very happy with you, got a great relationship, they love the work that you're doing, but they've taken a hit somewhere themselves, whether professionally or personally, and they have to rein things in for a bit. It's not to say they're not going to come back, but that is going to affect you really, really fast.
Yeah. They could sell their business. They could lose a big contract themselves. Like there's all sorts of things that could result in them needing to let you go.
So let's have some backup eggs.
Yes. We want you to have a look at your client list right now and have a look at the revenue that you get in from each of them and work out whether you have one client that is more than 50% of your revenue.
I'm just thinking, what if that's likely to be your best client. They might be your favorite client. 50% of your revenue, that could be a chunk of change right there.
Yeah. If this is you, and it's kind of, you will know, right? Because 50% of your revenue is very large and you will know whether there is one client that's over 50%. We're going to go through some strategies for what you can do if this is the case, and then also some things to keep in mind if you have the opportunity to say yes to a very large client. And we want you to be armed with the knowledge that we're going to pass on to you so that you can make the right decision for you.
Okay, where should we start? Should we start with the situation where you are not fully booked, but you get the opportunity to work with a massive client?
Knowing that you have a big risk in this case can help you make this decision. And sometimes you might still say yes to this client because you can put some backup eggs and backup strategies in place so that if the worst did happen and that client did leave, then you're not just going to not be able to feed your family that week or pay your mortgage that week. So if you do have this situation, be really, really conscious of what the impact could be, because it can be very easy to be like, oh, wow, I can see the dollar signs on this. This is going to be amazing. I really want this client in, going to be lots of money, great. You may decide to do that anyway and take that client on because you could potentially save up a really nice buffer of income for you to have some space and time to be able to bring on another client. That's definitely something you should do if you are in this situation or choosing to be in this situation in the future.
Yeah, it's an educated risk that you're taking, right? You're weighing up the pros and cons. You're going, you know what? Yeah, here's my. I'm going to take them on because I really want the work, but I'm going to have a plan B. I'm going to prepare, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. I think another option is, I mean, some virtual assistants, they don't actually have to rely on their revenue from their VA business to pay those bills. So if you've got, for whatever reason, you've got that financial backup, whether that's a partner's income or something else, then yeah, I mean, it's actually not really a risk, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a risk that you don't have the income, but it's not going to affect you
Yeah.
like it might someone else. So, whatever your financial situation is, could be a deciding factor of whether you say yes or no to that. Yeah. The other option, too, is that you could take on that client, but have them working with a subcontractor. So that subcontractor is actually doing the work. And so if that client leaves, there's no risk to you of still needing to pay that subcontractor. You could find other work for them, or that subcontractor could go on and find their own work for themselves. So that definitely reduces that risk. Obviously, you're not going to be making the profit that you were getting really comfortable making. So you'd need to still make sure that you know that and you're not like then suddenly needing to rely on that extra income because you've, increased your lifestyle to match your income. So you've got to be aware of, okay, what would happen if that client wasn't around anymore?
Yeah. And if you don't want a team, if you know, no way, bringing on a subcontractor is not going to happen, Joe Jensen.
If it was me, I would actually say no to a really big client, something that was over 50%. And this would be like if you had a range of clients and you're at your maximum capacity, we're talking about. It's not about like, obviously if you don't have any clients yet and you're bringing on one client, of course they're going to be more than 50%. They're going to be all the 100%. What we're talking about is like you using up all of your capacity for a number of clients and one of those clients being over 50%. So if you don't want to bring on a team and you get this opportunity for another big client, yeah, I would really consider saying no. Like
Mm.
from my own experience, I don't want a big client. It's too much of a risk for me. I don't want to have to rely on that income. And because I have employee team members, I don't want that to sit with an employee team member because if that client then left, I would be then needing to still pay that team member and scrambling to find those clients. But if you were in the situation where it was just you didn't want to bring on a team, then yeah, I would be considering saying no.
Yeah. Holding out for a better right fit client to come your way.
Yeah. I think the important thing, regardless of what your financial situation is or your situation, and you do have this either opportunity or you have a large client, it's really important that you still work on your lead generation. And having a wait list is a really good safeguard so that if that did happen, a large client left, you actually have a wait list to call on and be like, okay, we're ready to take you on now and get them signed up and started with you.
Yeah, this is key for any virtual assistant listening, whether or not you're in the situation where you've got the opportunity to work for a really really big client or not. Because whenever we see this all the time, whenever virtual assistants get really busy with client work, it's very easy for them to only want to focus on the client work. The first thing to go is I don't have time to network anymore. I don't have time to post on social media regularly. I don't have time to do my monthly blogging or newsletter. I just don't have time. And that's where you then stop the leads coming in, that consistent stream of leads coming in.
And so then when you do find yourself in the place where you need to find more clients, you're starting from scratch again. Everyone is cold. You've got
Oh,
no warm audience or lead. You're starting from scratch, and that takes a while to build up to warm audiences again because people forget about you. If you don't show up, if you're not anywhere, people will completely forget about you. And then you're starting again with building those relationships and that trust and credibility.
it is so much harder to sell to a cold audience than it is
Mm,
to a warm one.
mm,
So much harder. And that's when you get in
yep.
panic mode, right? As well. If this happens to you, you have stopped all your lead generation, you all of a sudden unexpectedly lose a massive chunk of revenue. That's when the panic sets in and you just go, shit, what do I do now? And we don't want you in a shit, what do I know situation. We want you to have that plan B. So let's talk about Joe. I think those virtual assistants that are listening and they haven't, maybe you haven't even thought of this. And maybe you are going, you know what? One of my clients is 60% of my revenue. Or I've only got one client, or I've only got two clients. It's 50% each. Like, do I need to worry about this? Do I have to fire some people? Like, what do I do now?
Yeah. It depends on your situation. Like having a think about your own financial situation. Do you have a financial buffer? Do you have some savings that could help in the situation when you are in this, where you do have a big risk in your business? And also thinking about, are you generating leads? Do you have a wait list? Do you need to spring clean this client? Like, do you actually need to find a few clients to replace this one client and maybe you move them on? Maybe you find another virtual assistant for them to go to. Maybe you hire a subcontractor and have that client go over to that subcontractor. So you're really like removing that risk away from your client base into okay, my subcontractor is actually going to look after this solely. So then if they do leave, all right, I know that I'm going to lose that profit and that's okay because I've got this other backup plan over here. I have a spread of clients. I don't have any risk on the work that I'm doing myself. And that gives you the ability to do your lead generation. You've got to be putting time aside in your business to work on your business. We call this the CEO time.
Mhm.
You are the CEO of your business. Whether you like to admit it or not, you are the CEO. And that means that you have time put aside each week to work on your business.
It's so
Lead
important.
generation being one of those important things.
Yeah, very, very important. So you've got options. There's no need to panic. Depending on your situation, I think once again, it comes back to hope for the best, but prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
Have that plan in place. Know what you're doing if that worst case scenario was to happen to you.
Because I think, like, to put some numbers on this, we really want you to think about having at least 3 clients. At least 3, and not one of those clients being more than 50%. We want you to spread the work across multiple clients. However, not so many clients that everyone is a little client, because the headspace and the admin involved in managing lots of small clients, it becomes too much to handle. And you'll end up not being as profitable as having like a really good spread of clients, at least 3, because it takes the same amount of admin time to look after a larger client than it does a smaller client. And so if you're adding in loads of smaller clients, that admin time just starts to really creep up. And then the amount of client work that you can do, how billable you can be in that week, really starts to reduce the more clients you get. So we want you to have that really nice balance. Enough clients that not one of them is more than 50%, but not so many that you're just like, oh, I can't handle this number of clients. And because they take a lot of headspace too. Not just the admin time, but it's the headspace. They take the equal amount of headspace,
They do.
regardless of how many hours you're
They
doing.
do. So what would you consider a small client?
A small client is where you're like doing, that like up to 5 hours a month. That just like that little bit that, once a month kind of thing, or just like a little dribble of work every week. It's just not worth it.
Are they the leads that reach out to you that want just the ad hoc support rather than
The
the regular
casual stuff,
ongoing?
yeah, or just that like, I just want one thing done each month. Takes a lot of headspace for that.
Yeah. Is it worth? Is it worth that headspace? Is it worth that energy? Is it worth that time? My goodness. Can you imagine? I'm just thinking back to when I was doing the client work, like the mental energy it takes to switch on and off for your different clients. And if you're doing that personally across like a dozen different itty bitty clients, oh, that's exhausting. It's really
Yeah.
exhausting.
Yeah. All right. For those of you who are established virtual assistants and you are really looking to scale your business in 2024, we would love to see you over in the Scale It Mastermind. And for those listening who are thinking about becoming a virtual assistant and wanting to launch your business, get those high paying clients and set your business up right from the start, then we have the launch in 30 days, 3 times a year. So have a look via the link below and see when the next launch in 30 days course is coming up. We would love to help you on your VA journey. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Sam and Joe VA Show. If you'd like to find out more, head to the VA Foundry website to check out the mastermind and the amazing resources, courses, and coaching.
You can find us at thevafoundry.com.